like
But
that.
this is an
and
example.
it was entertaining.
This is an example. Marc Maron was doing really well at one point in time in his career, and now he's not. So Marc Maron had the #1 podcast, and after a while, his podcast wasn't even in the top 200. It dropped off. Bill Burr, his career's took off. He's doing arenas. He's killing it. Mark's not. And Marc finds reasons to criticize other people that are doing much better than him. And he focuses on that because he thinks he should be getting more than he deserves. Back to being bitter and jealous and thinking about other people instead of thinking about himself and why people don't want to go see him anymore. He was upset when we left the Comedy Store because we took the crowds away. And it's like, hey, you were on the fucking marquee too, man. They're not coming to see you. And the reason why they're not coming to see you is because you're not doing well. And your podcast was in the top. It was #1. And when it was at #1, by the way, this is what I always say about Marc Maron, he was great. Marc Maron was fun to hang out with when he was killing it. Because he was happy. Because he was getting validation. Because he had the #1 podcast. We were friends. Like, I did his podcast. He did mine. We had a good time. I'd hug him when I see him.
So this Marc Maron and Joe Rogan beef has been going on for ages, and now I was just watching the latest episode of JRE with Donald Rawlings, and it got heated up again. Made me think about old episode where Marc Maron was a guest. So I went back and found the podcast back in the day and wanted to make a video for it.
But then when you get in the trenches of it and you really start to educate yourself about what issues are, how, radio personalities are being used by political parties to move talking points, what the talking points are.
This got me thinking how nowadays there are a lot of politicians going to the Joe Rogan experience for a talk, and sometimes I feel that Joe Rogan doesn't push that much back.
When it comes down to being a real progressive, they're not so knee-jerk. They're fairly deliberate. They're fairly focused on what their elements or what their causes are and how to sort of facilitate slow change. Rapid change is not, really possible. But I think that if there's anything self-sabotaging about me, it was that I was inconsiderate and that, I was, hyper-competitive and insecure. So I don't think that I was one of those guys that, had a big, an important thing. I'd do everything I can to do well.
And I think that in that narrative, I think that there's an important message. There's a giant spectrum of us. And we all come from weird starts. And we don't all start on the same block. Shit. I just dripped on my fucking laptop.
Did it go on the keyboard, you think?
Yeah, it did. But I think I got to it quick enough.
Look, I've been a defensive asshole, but I'm not the kind of guy, I'm not...
You're not evil.
No, but no one was ever afraid of me. When I was an asshole, it's amazing. Guys who come from more the tough guy ilk, they're usually surprised, how did Maron not get his ass kicked yet? How come no one has kicked Maron's ass?
I know a few dudes who want to kick your ass.
Yeah.
I think Brian Callen wanted to kick your ass at one point in time.
I see. That was the thing.
In New York.
I was trying to remember why I thought we had problems. Do you remember?
Yeah, but I've never felt that way. Somebody said, Mark said that you don't like him. And I went, I've never had that thought in my fucking life. In fact, I remember we spent time together back in the day. We were just kind of hanging out, and then, life gets in the way. But I never thought that.
I don't know where I got that in my head or why.
I have a deep kinship only because you and I knew each other 25 years ago.
I know, dude.
And I always thought you were not only painfully funny, but very smart. And you didn't get your success until later in life.
Yeah.
So when I see somebody who sits in that cut and never gives up and then sees all that success, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's more than the American dream.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of grit.
Yeah, I think
it's something I admire.
I'm thinking because I make you walk in, you ask me if I the guy Brendan Shaw, his name Brendan
Schaub.
Schaub, he's on the podcast, right?
Yes.
The fighter and the kid, is that it?
Yes.
That's your podcast, one of them. Didn't you do another one with Dalia?
The 10-minute podcast.
But you're out of that.
No, and I have mixed mental arts now where I talk to academics. I read books and talk to the smartest people I can find and try to...
You and Rogan are doing the sort of enlightened...
he does it better than I do.
The enlightened ex-meatheads.
This is exactly right. I want to be a meathead, but I just don't have the bone structure.
This podcast was, I think, 2019, so it seems like Marc Maron had coined the term enlightened meatheads some time ago.
You love Austin, don't you?
He's running half the planet out of Texas.
Yeah.
He's got a tight hold on the enlightened meatheads.
Dude, Maron's disdain.
It's not disdain. It's reasonable criticism.
Reasonable criticism.
Yeah.
When was the last time you spoke with him?
I don't know. That's a good question. I guess it would have been at the store. I never talked to him in Austin. I don't go into the club. I don't really think I'm on his radar. So
something tells me you are.
Oh yeah,
something tells me you are.
Right, right. I remember you talked about that. There were a couple of guys that have beefs with me, and I talked to Joey Diaz about like his thing with me, and that was just again inconsiderate.
Yeah,
it was not. But with Callan too, I think that at that time when he started out, like there were these guys that came into the scene, into the alternative scene, that were real sort of like, sketchy, kind of character driven, and I was condescending. I was sort of like, it's not stand up. So I think that whatever, sure, I think he did want to kick my ass. I think we can both admit that we had chips on our shoulders for one reason or another.
Oh, for sure. Not only that, both admit insecurity. I think insecurity is like, without insecurity, there's no growth, okay? And you're not going to be born out of the hatch with all the fucking answers. You need to have some instability. You need to balance. You need to like lean to the left if you're falling to the right. You need to figure that shit out. And if you don't have that, you just grow up super confident. You get hit by trains. You fucking... Somebody
just kind of bumble through life.
Do you think Joe Rogan is thinking that he has leaned too much in the right lately? Or do you think he's right where he wants to be? I don't know. Seems like he has went quite far right lately, but let's see.
And I think this is relative to the conversation is that, I don't have kids. And I know how I was brought up. I was real hands-off, real kind of, my parents were very self-involved. But like, if anyone asks me about kids or whatever, I always tell them, I said, the only thing that I really regret is not being given the opportunity to have a healthy sense of competition, like knowing, even sports or any way that you realize that like winning and losing is not life-threatening. It's not self-threatening. That because I didn't engage in that, or I wasn't a team player, or I didn't get involved in like that spirit of things, or even like you do with healthy competition, where you're like, well, good game.
Yeah.
That if that's not part of your life, every competitive thing that you engage in becomes sort of like threatening.
Yes.
That there's no way to sort of regulate. That this is not a personal attack.
Right.
And I didn't have any of that experience. And I think that if you deal with team sports, or you deal with even single, like one-person sports, that you get that sense it's sort of like, all right, good game, man. Maybe tomorrow I'll do better or whatever. Whereas if you're a competitive person and you have no discipline around it, you're fucking defensive and you're going to take personal shots. And that's how my insecurity revealed itself. And that's why people want to kick my ass. If Callan wanted to kick my ass, it was because I was preemptively defensive and hostile and judgmental, and I dumped it on him, and he was just a guy trying to be funny, and he knew that he could kick my ass, and he chose not to do that. So I will thank him for that. I'm not.
This was a podcast with Brian Callan a few episodes later, and it seems like Marc Maron's talk about parenthood got a little bit inside also Joe's head.
An incredible way that they emotionally never recover from it. And it's one of the reasons why, in my opinion, it's so important to get children involved in competitive athletics and competitive things so they learn how to lose things. That's right, dude. They learn how to lose games. You learn how to lose relationships. You learn how to lose things. Losing things is important.
Expectations that don't come true, all that stuff.
Well, it's also important to know that you can bounce back. When you've bounced back before, you understand about bouncing back. But when you've only experienced fear and then insecurity and then the devastating feeling of loss compounds
you never want that again.
No,
you'll orchestrate your life so you never fail again.
And you'll never take a chance again.
You'll never take a chance again.
Yeah, you also have to have friends. Those are important aspects. Like a loner who gets dumped.
Sam was weird with his dick and peeing on things.
Everyone at the Comedy Store is weird with their dicks, it seems like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, I think it's a comic thing, maybe. Dicks out, whatever, show it to people.
Yeah, more dicks have been pulled out at the Comedy Store than any other comedy club
just
ever.
for no reason. Look at my dick. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark's comments about these dick jokes got me thinking about this old clip about these two geniuses with Whitney Cummings.
Story of when you really sexually harassed me?
Yeah.
Oh, I love
I don't
that
know
story.
the story. I think
I've heard this.
Yeah.
We didn't hook up, but we were there was this place called Westwood Brewing Company in Westwood, and it was like this really janky Adam Hunter used to have a room there, and I would go to try to do like 4 minutes in front of 3 like drunk college girls, and then you would try to have sex with those 3 drunk college girls.
Sure would.
After I had bombed in front of them.
El dirtbag over here.
And then one time we like left. It was like a Tuesday at like, it was only like 7:30, and you were like, "Can I get a ride in my car?" And I was like, "Sure." And you got in the car, and I literally like turned the wheel like to like look where I was going, and I turned around, and your dick was out.
Hey,
The old peekaboo. Call me old peekaboo.
But it was so weird.
No news.
Because it was
it hard or just?
No, it was not hard. Which now that I look back, I'm super insulted.
You were impressed with my piece, though.
I had a conversation with Jamie Kilstein once about podcasts, about politics rather, and we were talking about whether or not, like, if you know that it's a rigged game, and at this point, essentially, we all know it's a rigged game, and you still talk about it as if it's real. Like, are you playing into the system? And the problem with real politics is, as you start talking about filibusters and Democrats and Congress,
one of the problems with political comedians is that, if you're to the left, there's about 5 talking points that will, you're going to give
pro-rights, pro-gay marriage.
Right. You're going to give your take on that. And that's it.
And you, by the way, you're stuck with those points.
Oh, well, you are.
You can't vary. You can't have, but I like having guns. You can't throw that in there. And,
Right. It becomes tricky if you're going to be that guy.
Yeah.
So, like, and I knew that. I'm like, well, look, I just fucking knew after I did politics that there's no way you can be, if you're going to be completely partisan and that's going to be your angle, then you lose some of your ability to be a comic because you should be able to call bullshit on anything.
Yeah, no doubt.
Do you think Joe Rogan has lost his ability to make jokes about Trump with his close association with him? What do you think? I kind of feel like he doesn't make jokes about Trump that much anymore.
Yeah.
And you kind of give that up.
Yes, Dennis Miller style.
Mm-hmm.
To the right. Yeah.
Right.
Which is very disturbing. To me, very disturbing. I heard Seinfeld talking about it. It was really interesting what Seinfeld said. His take on it was that Dennis didn't want to do the heavy lifting anymore. So he just found this sort of political thing and just went for that and just cut out all the funny.
Yeah.
And went with this like real easy path. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think he got scared. And when he got scared, he went super right wing because it was all post 9/11. It was all like
you mean
with
really
George
scared?
Bush. Yeah.
Right. No,
really
that happened to a lot of people that you thought were different than they were.
Yeah, I kind of feel that COVID was quite harsh on Joe Rogan and maybe a little bit broke his brain. And I think maybe it was his 9/11 in the same way that he was talking about in the latest clip.
Well, there's a comfort in like going with that rah drink whiskey and shoot them and let God sort them out. There's a comfort to that whole idea. Not somehow or another profitable to have a society that has less people that are fucked up, less people in trouble, less people that are losers. That's a better society.
Well, yeah, but then like what I think that what a right-wing thinker would say to you is that,
shove up my bootstraps.
well, no, that you're talking about socialism. That, in a sense that, in order for private industry to be involved in that, what private industry wants to do, and they want to privatize everything, the right-wingers, is that, sure, they would love to do that, but they don't want to do it for the poor people. What they'd like to do is, we'd love to rebuild this neighborhood. How do we kill all these poor people?
And gentrify this
Exactly.
bitch. How do we arrest them?
Then Halliburton will come down and it's like, look, we got rid of them all. Now you could actually have kids here and could put them. We even made the school better.
But does it have to be either or? I mean, it seems like it doesn't have to be that way. Just because it's not necessarily socialism. What it is like
if the government's
community.
Involved, it is. But yeah, no,
but is it? Because full socialism, in my mind, it's like it's a broad spectrum of what I mean. It's socialism in a sense that it's like cultural socialism, like community socialism, like the idea of everybody should pay a price to keep the world healthy, and if you make more money, you should pay some money back to create a healthy environment around you and to help give it back to the system.
I think after all the Spotify millions, Joe Rogan has become a little bit more stingy with paying taxes, but who likes taxes anyway? Here was just a podcast with Michael Malice, and they were talking about the New York tax situation. I just thought about it was a little bit related to this clip.
Is up around $11 billion from the current
year.
That's
like 9% up.
Yeah, 9.5%. A record $127 billion budget proposal on Tuesday. The socialist city leader's plan includes a whopping 9.5% proposed property tax hike. 9.5 hike on New Yorkers, which he claims would be a last resort while allocating another $1.2 billion for migrants.
What's the Florida budget, Jamie?
Yeah, he's a fucking psychopath. Like,
is he
the amount for migrants is crazy. There should be $0 for illegal immigrants.
But
zero.
I don't think you can have zero, because if they're going to be there, they're going to be. You have to feed them. You have to do something with them. Like literally, if you don't feed them, they're going to be robbing stores. They have to. Human beings need food. What are you going to do?
Get them jobs.
How are you going to get a migrant a job?
Get him a job in Guatemala.
Wouldn't you rather give him food than a job? I don't want them taking American citizens' jobs.
Well, the whole thing's a mess.
The whole thing's a mess, but the point is you can't just throw them away.
Right.
That's the problem.
Unless you're going to remove them from the country.
No, they haven't raised property taxes there in over 20 years.
Is that true?
That's what this says. It's 25 years since September.
Well, the property taxes are high.
I'm just a point.
But I understand they haven't raised it, but they shouldn't raise it. I think the idea is that rich people are just going to pay it, and this is what they're trying to push. Meanwhile, people are going to flee, just like they've done in other countries when they've done these sort of wealth taxes.
That's $1,200 though. $1,200 for the year.
A condo,
it's
assessed at $120,000 would go from paying $14,000 to $16,000. But that's a condo that's assessed at $120,000. Good luck finding a condo assessed at $120,000 in New York City.
14,000 divided by 12 is
well, for that particular condominium unit.
Right.
From 15,000 to 16,300. That's a difference of $1,300.
Oh, I see. That's what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. That's 12% on 120,000. Now do a $55 million condo.
This is a $3.2 million one.
The really wealthy people are responsible for a large percentage of the tax income in New York City. I think it's the upper 1%. I think the upper 1% of New York City are responsible for 50% of the tax revenue.
It's got to be something crazy.
It's something crazy like that. See what the actual number is. They're all just trying to steal money. Top 1% of New York City
49,
income.
holy crap.
Yeah. PIT accounts for 23% of overall city tax collections. So it's a lot of money. 48% of the city's personal income tax liability is an enormous amount of money.
I agree.
And if that's sort of socialism, I don't necessarily whatever. I don't want to label what it is, but it's more the idea of community.
Right. Your question is that with so much money in the world and with the living in a great country which we live in that has an abundance of wealth, why are there still people living in third world poverty, and why are there people that have to grow up with no hope and no real future, and it's stacked against them?
And when Bush won the re-election, I thought about moving to Vancouver in 2004.
It's beautiful.
Very briefly. When Bush won the re-election, I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I was like, this is so great. I had a whole bit about it, my whole bit about George Bush was that after they put him into office, that a bunch of people were sitting around going, I think we can go dumber. Look how dumb they are. Like, they love him. Like, I think we can go dumber. And then, it was like the whole thing about him winning again. Like, what is he saying? Did you teach him the words? Teach him the fucking words.
Have you ever seen a more confident moron?
There's like, he won again? He won again. Really? Yeah. And why are we going to war with them?
Yeah.
And how'd they write that down?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they bought that. Holy shit.
Sure. You just tap into that anger, dude.
Seriously, it's 2005 and look who the president is. That's a little weird. Yeah, we have a dumb president. And stop all the Republican Democrat shit. Let's just be honest. Let's be honest. I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat, all right? And I think voting for president right now is a lot like rooting on pro wrestling. All right? That said, it is a little weird that we got a dumb president. Remember my joke about dumb people not knowing they're dumb? Okay, if you don't know he's dumb, it's because you're dumber than him. So why do we have a dumb guy? I'll tell you why. Because there's only one way to find out how dumb we really are. They had to make a dumb guy the president. They probably had arguments. Let's just get a smart guy to act dumb. No. We'll never know then. Let's put a real dumb guy in. Fuck it. Listen, if it doesn't work, we got backup. We got Jeb, we got McCain. Don't worry about it. We're gonna be fine. We try him out in the primaries. Let's just try it. Dude, he's making up words. Talk to him. Talk to him. Nigeria's not a continent, you asshole. Put some shit in his ear. Tell him some things. He won? Wow. Oh, fuck. Oh, look at all this shit. We're at war? Oh, war is a dangerous thing. Could fuck everything up. With them? Well, how are we at war with them? How did he make that connection? They bought that. Wow. With the internet and everything? He won again? Holy fucking shit! He won again. God damn. And you know there's one dude in the back of the room going, I think we can go dumber. And they could, easily. You're outnumbered. You just don't realize if we had some crazy, loped out president who only talked to the dummies, just some wild former military pro football coach type president, some dude who gets on TV and goes, how about this? How about we go over there and take that fucking oil? What's up? USA, USA, USA. You want to pay $2.50 a gallon or you want to pay 25 cents? Let's do this shit Rome style.
I think Joe Rogan should bring back this this routine from his old set. It's actually a little bit more funny than his latest specials.
Well, he actually is saying some really rational things when it comes to immigration. You know, we're a nation
right now.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's like they've given him some left-leaning talking points. You know, as an older gentleman, you know, Mr. Bush, we'd appreciate it if you know, we're softening.
All those guys are. The thing is that when it comes right down to it, it's all it's about. You know, most of the right wing guys and most politicians are owned, and all they give a fuck about is that the money keeps flowing. They don't really care about people. They just, the trick of politics is to placate enough people into thinking that things are okay and going their way so they can go on making money.
This whole Epstein shit has been kind of eye-opening to the millionaires and billionaires, that how they really operate behind the scenes. So, yeah, that's what it is. That's how the world is run.
That's it.
Yeah, especially in this day and age. Well, listen, man, I'm glad you pulled through it. You're a success story. You know, you really are. You know, you're a guy who figured out what you were doing wrong. And you're a different guy because of that. Like, you're different to interact with. And it's been nice watching you have success. It's been nice seeing you become this, like, softer, easier to deal with guy.
I appreciate that.
It's been cool.
I mean, and I think even since we last talked on microphones, I've gotten better.
Well, I think we needed to have a conversation for sure. We didn't know each other very well.
Yeah. But I think that, I had some idea in my head that you very earnestly and reasonably fought. That you were talking to me, fighting my insistence that my idea of who you were was really you. And you were literally like, I don't know what, you've made up something.
Well, you also did talk to Andy Dick. Can flavor things in a very different way as well.
Yeah, but there was also a weird tension, just because of who we were over the years. But I'm glad we were able to do this and this finally happened.
I'm glad too. It was a lot of fun. Let's do it more often.
At any time.
We can sit down. You and I could talk for days like this, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
We have to stop now because we're running out of time. We're at the end of 3 hours? Yeah, we're at the end of it.
Anyway, this was my small compilation of this old podcast and some newer podcast that was a little bit related. It's a little bit also fun and sad to see that how Joe Rogan has gotten old and a little bit more maybe grumpy. That's about it. This was my stupid little video. Please like and subscribe, and don't like if you think this sucks. Thanks for watching. Okay, see you in the next one maybe. Okay, see you guys, bye.